Someone who we all respect, Marjorie Taylor Greene, says Kevin McCarthy is going to be a great speaker.
I guess you'll have to ask Marjorie about that. I'm a fan of hers. I'm an admirer, but it's not something we see the same way.
Lauren?
Well, you know, I've been aligned with Marjorie and accused of believing a lot of the things that she believes in. I don't believe in this, just like I don't believe in Russian space lasers.
Are you a hard no?
Space lasers and all of this. No, I'm just saying we need to actually have an inside conversation and make sure that these promises are there.
Okay, so this is Lauren Boebert taking a thinly veiled swipe at Marjorie Taylor Greene, which, unsurprisingly, didn't go unnoticed by Greene, who saw this clip and then took to Twitter to write, "I've supported and donated to Lauren Boebert. President Trump has supported and donated to Lauren Boebert. Kevin McCarthy has supported and donated to Lauren Boebert. She just barely came through by 500 votes. She gladly takes our money, but when she's been asked, Lauren Boebert refuses to endorse President Trump. She refuses to support Kevin McCarthy, and she childishly threw me under the bus for a cheap soundbite. The country is facing extremely difficult times. Americans expect conservative fighters like us to work together to save America, and that is the only mission I'm 100% devoted to, not high school drama and media soundbites. Save America, defeat the Democrats." From there, Boebert responded back to Greene in an interview with the Daily Caller, saying, quote, "I've been asked to explain Marjorie Taylor Greene's belief in Jewish space lasers, why she showed up to a white supremacist conference, and now why she's blindly following Kevin McCarthy, and I'm not going to go there. The only person who can answer for Marjorie's words and actions is Marjorie. Let me be very clear, I support President Trump, period. President Trump is a friend and the leader of the Republican Party." And just as a quick aside, it's telling that they keep blindly throwing in the straw man of supporting President Trump, when that's very clearly not what this is about. But because the entire Republican Party is predicated on its fealty to the guy, all they can do is just constantly reassert their love for him, because at the core of all of this is that all of these people just operate out of fear of falling out with the cult leader, and so they have to constantly kiss the ring in public. Because the GOP doesn't answer to its constituents, it answers to the guy who's lost them every single election since 2018. In reality, what this is actually over is the impending vote for Speaker of the House. Lauren Boebert, along with Matt Gaetz and a number of other never Kevins, is obviously pushing for an alternative to Kevin McCarthy, who she believes is not conservative enough to fill the role, which, as an aside, is ironic, considering this past midterm election was a repudiation of Republican extremism, only for those extremist Republicans to decide that their leader isn't extreme enough. Sure seems like the GOP took the right lessons out of getting their butts kicked in midterms. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is on Team Kevin for the obvious reason that she's been able to extract concessions from him. And she knows that he's weak enough to do what she says, so in return, she's supporting the guy. She's not looking for a leader, she's looking for a puppet, and that's exactly what the ever-weak Kevin McCarthy is to her. For example, he's promised to restore her onto committees, although which committees is still unknown, while at the same time vowing to remove Democrats like Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell from their committees. That's how things are going on the right, swapping out the current chair of the House Intelligence Committee for the woman who thinks that Jews control lasers in space. Real healthy political party they've got there. Like, just think about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene is too crazy for Lauren Boebert, apparently, who is probably the second craziest person in Congress, and that's the person who's made herself the face of the pro-Kevin McCarthy faction. If you're McCarthy, that's not exactly the marketing you should be aiming for. But then again, it's not surprising considering being Speaker is quite literally all Kevin McCarthy cares about, and he will say and do anything humanly possible to get there. It's not that he's coming down to Marjorie Taylor Greene's level, it's that he was always down there to begin with. What McCarthy doesn't want is a repeat of what happened back in 2015. John Boehner was retiring, and Kevin McCarthy was the heir apparent to the speakership in the Republican Party. And then he went on national TV and did this.
Everybody thought Hillary Clinton was unbeatable, right? But we put together a Benghazi special committee, a select committee. What are her numbers today? Her numbers are dropping. Why? Because she's untrustable. But no one would have known any of that had happened had we not fought and made that happen.
Admitted on national TV that the point of the Benghazi Select Committee, which Republicans have dined off of for years while portraying Hillary Clinton as the root of all evil in the world, was established solely to sink Clinton's poll numbers. And to be clear, Republicans weren't upset that they did that. They were upset that McCarthy was stupid enough to say it out loud. And so instead, the speakership fell to Paul Ryan, leaving McCarthy in an almost decade-long limbo, which brings us to today, where the guy is so desperate to finally get the speaker's gavel that he will do whatever it takes and join forces with whoever it takes to finally get there. And for all of her faults, of which there are many, Marjorie Taylor Greene obviously recognizes that McCarthy is operating from a position of extreme weakness here, and she's exploiting that for herself. What she's not taking into account is that having a leader whose sole operating position is weakness doesn't exactly bode well for the Republican Party. And yet, at the same time, it does make sense, because within the GOP, it's not about advancing any principles, it's about advancing people. Republicans are interested in consolidating power for themselves, and they will adopt or reject whatever policy positions help them to do that. They'll pretend that they're pro-family values until it comes time to line up behind a guy who's paid out more in hush money payouts than most people make in a year, and then they'll suddenly forget about being pro-family values. They'll pretend that they're fiscally conservative until it comes time to explode the debt, and then they'll just do that instead. These people don't stand for anything, they stand for keeping their jobs. And so it should come as no surprise that they're all imploding now and working to prop up a quote-unquote leader who is weak enough that they can walk him around on a leash. Not because he'll be able to lead, but because they'll be able to lead him. Compare that with the Democrats who, for all their faults, have spent the last 2 years proving that their policies matter. They promised to combat climate change, and they passed the biggest climate investment in history. They promised to lower drug prices, and they did. Promised to combat gun violence and passed the first gun safety bill in 3 decades. Promised to lower costs, and so they capped out-of-pocket healthcare costs for seniors and insulin prices. Promised to bolster jobs and added 10.5 million jobs and 750,000 manufacturing jobs. Promised to cancel student loan debt, and did, although Republicans are fighting it in court because they're the real populists. On issue after issue after issue, Democrats have legislation to back up what they say. As for Republicans, you could fly a 777 in the gap between how they market themselves and what they actually do once they have power. And so look, I don't know what will happen on the Kevin McCarthy front, but I'm not going to pretend that it's not entertaining watching two crazies in the GOP go at each other to remake the party in their own images, all the while completely blind to the fact that both of them are why the Republican Party is losing in the first place. Meaning that whoever wins out here, whether it's Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Taylor Greene, at the end of the day, it's the GOP that's going to lose. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.